And after you know what ingredients would be used there, you're still limited because you need to understand how these ingredients go together. There's a proper order. You don't bake all the ingredients first, then you mix them together.
Yes.
There's an order and a priority.
All right. So, guys, thank you for rocking with us these last couple of weeks. I want to take a moment to encourage you to smash the like button. All right. It doesn't take much. Just move your finger right over and hit the subscribe button. And so you can be notified when more content like this is uploaded to this page. All right. None other. I want to take a moment just to introduce Mr. Arthurs, the author of the authors of the authors. How are you, my brother?
It's very exciting to have this opportunity to share another view, give a different take on understanding marriage and relationships. There are views that are very common that we understand, that we've heard before. And so it's interesting for me, it's exciting to be able to share from a different perspective.
Yeah, no, for sure. And especially I think what's gonna make this discussion quite interesting and I believe helpful is the time where we're in. And I think we've alluded to this in some of our previous conversations about the need for authentic manhood and in all of the platforms and discussions that's been having in the last couple of months or years, especially what's called the manosphere and all of this talk of what a real man is and what it looks like, and in terms of there's so many out there, but I do think and I'm trusting this conversation is going to be one that will offer, like you're talking about, a fresh perspective, and hoping we can also gain some practical point of men at work and how men ought to prepare for marriage.
The key here is understanding that a man is the foundation of the home. He is also the head, and being the head means being the foundation. The foundation is something that it might not be seen, but it carries out the bulk work.
Yes.
And without a good foundation, anything that is on the top will crumble. It will fall. We have buildings in our country of high value, maybe $200,000 to $300,000 in our money, currency.
Right.
And they are not inhabited. You can pass places and you will see a couple of houses or more that will have no windows, they won't have any doors, and they are sinking at either at the front, at the side, or at the back. What causes this? Not having a proper foundation. And so the hope of this preparedness session or series, whatever we would call it, is to equip, in this case, males to understand what is required of them. How do males prepare? I would like to start with 3 ingredients. The 3 ingredients, they are very common to everybody. It's called knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. You can't understand something if you don't know about it. So to understand, you first have to know. You have to have knowledge. And next to that, you can't have wisdom if you don't have understanding. No, it doesn't mean that because you have knowledge, you have understanding. It doesn't mean that because you have understanding, you have wisdom. But they're important. So if we're looking at ingredients, we mentioned ingredients of a healthy marriage, and in the book, I speak a little bit on this.
Right.
But this is ingredients that we're talking about that would prepare a meal. Let's say you're baking a cake. You need to know what ingredients would be used in the cake. And after you know what ingredients would be used there, you're still limited because you need to understand how these ingredients go together. There's a proper order. You don't bake all the ingredients first, then you mix them together.
Yes.
There's an order and a priority. When you understand how they should go together, then comes wisdom.
Right.
And wisdom is now the ability to apply these things, to put them together in an intelligent and crafty way to make them work. And so these 3 things are important. If you're lacking any one of them, then the triangle gets broken.
Yeah.
And we have problems.
So the knowledge, understanding, and the wisdom, and I like that very much, because when it comes to especially knowledge, there's so much knowledge accessible at hand in our time. I started with saying we had in cartel growing up.
Right.
Before that, it was physical encyclopedias. You buy the set of encyclopedias A to Z, and you have them on a shelf, all these big books, and you search them manually. Now we're at the place where you can touch the microphone button on your phone and ask Google or Siri for information, and you get so much responses in a couple of seconds. You go on YouTube and get all these videos that are there to instruct us and give us knowledge. And so as we talk about the knowledge, it's one thing, but it's another thing to have the right knowledge.
Very good. I was thinking that same thing. Yeah, that's good.
Because of the vast amount of information, the digital age we're in, we right now are putting out some knowledge today. And we can definitely put out some understanding, but when you apply it, then it's wisdom. So
that's right.
As we talk about knowledge, I want to narrow it down and say, to make sure we're filtering, getting the right type of knowledge. And as you're listening, we want to say, like say, in our culture, we say fisherman, not saying a fish stink, or let me put that in English. Fishermen do not say their own fishes stink. All right. But we are confident in the knowledge we are putting out. I believe I want to be confident and say that you have applied, I have applied, and we have seen the results, and so we want to put out that knowledge. So I want to add that when it comes to the knowledge, to filter and make sure you're getting the right kind of knowledge as well.
Thinking about ingredients, there's something called a cookbook. And to be honest, that is how I look at these books behind me. I don't see them as entertainment books,
right,
where you can read through them in an hour or two and walk off saying, oh, I enjoyed that book. It is not for that. You don't take a cookbook and read it in that form and walk off and say, oh, I enjoyed that book.
Yes.
You read it with the intent to apply. You read it for guidance. And so there comes the importance of knowledge and understanding. So how can a young man prepare himself for marriage? How can a young man prepare himself for that which is so important? That is the weighty and the weightiness of the responsibility and the severity in it. They need to be on top of things because of what is at stake. How can a young man prepare himself for this? Well, let's start. The first thing I would say here in preparedness and to get knowledge is to study. That might sound basic, but it is something that as men, we are not very keen on things like this. So if we don't have to study something, we probably wouldn't. That is why there's a running joke going around suggesting that men prefer to set up a device without going to the manual, and men prefer not to read manuals.
Yeah.
And that becomes a problem when we think we know and we begin to set something up, forgetting to do some, very important steps. And so studying becomes a very important thing. Number one is reading. You study by reading. And if you're like me, I should say, and I don't really like reading, I would watch videos after videos. And a video is basically reading put into motion and maybe even action. So I would enjoy just listening. I have YouTube videos that I look at, and there are thousands of YouTube videos that I have saved to listen to. And that's what I enjoy. You might be a truck driver and it's easier for you to listen to the YouTube video than to be going through a book. So when I say read material on marriage, that includes whatever you may do, even if it's using your Encarta, no, to get your information. Read material. And then second to that, in reading, your heart should be to learn as much as possible before marriage. Every single job that a person prepares for, even in sports, there is a level of preparation, a level of studying, a level of practicing that goes on. You have to reach this particular threshold before you're allowed on the court. You know, you have to reach this amount of flying hours before you're allowed to go by yourself. And there are standards, there are clear, tested, proven standards that you have to first reach before you can be promoted to the other level. Well, in marriage, it seems all you need would be the ingredients. So it seems that when we think of marriage and we compare it to a cake, all you need would be the ingredients that make that cake. You don't have to know how to bake it because you have flour and you have water and you have butter and you have sugar. You are the best cake expert because you have that. Let me not wander off too far, but that is how we think. So because a man has a private part and it functions, that makes him a good husband. And we men think that that is what makes us good husbands. No, I'm sorry. That does not, you have the ingredients, but that does not mean that you know how to bake the cake. That you have to go another step. So there are many things that we need to understand. Once you have knowledge, then you need to move on to understanding, which is a higher level. And I will try to give a couple and stop so that I can hear back from you and hear your point of view also. One of the first things a man needs to understand when he's preparing for marriage is that when a lady says, I do, point number one, when the lady says, I do, according to the manufacturer, she is automatically a good thing. This has no condition on it. It doesn't say if she doesn't quarrel, if she smells good, if there's no condition. She says, I do, she is a good thing. So if anything is wrong, it can't be with the good thing. And that is the point number one I would like to bring across. Second is to understand what your responsibility is. Whenever you're at a workplace and there are people who do not understand their responsibility or don't care, it makes for very frustrated workers.
Right.
You might have a child in a group and the teacher gives the group a group work and people don't want to carry out their responsibility, but one child might be responsible enough and that child will begin to complain because she has to do all the work or he has to do all the work. That is because somebody in that group understands not their responsibility. So what is your responsibility in a marriage? Well, everything is. But it's her fault. Yes, I understand it's your lady's fault. She is wrong. She shouldn't have done that. But it's your responsibility. If it's your fault, then it's still your responsibility. But the point here is that if it is her fault, it is your responsibility. And the last point is understand what your curse is. Many males go into relationships unprepared because they do not understand what their curse is. Your curse, sir, is to work. By the sweat of your brow, you should eat. That is your curse. When you understand that that is your curse, it will affect the way you think, the way you operate. So, for example, if that is my curse, but I find that my wife is working, not a woman, it is okay for a woman to work. A woman should work, can work, because she is a woman. But the minute that woman becomes a wife, then it is no longer her responsibility to work. It is the male's responsibility to work. That is his curse. And so understand what your curse is, because understanding this means that when you see your wife working, you understand that she has her curses and now she's taking on your curse. So now she is not just tired. She is not just extra tired. She is super tired. She has no more energy. She has been sucked dry like an orange during the day at work because she has taken on your curse. She is working. And when you understand this, then now coming home, you will have a different mind and understanding as to how we will share the responsibilities at home and the duties and the kids. Whatsoever things has to be done at home, for the marriage, then we will be able to properly divide that work, because You understand what your curse is. You are the one that should be working, not your wife. So those are the first three I'd like to throw out and turn back over to you.
I definitely want to piggyback on one of the analogies that you used when it came to the cookbook. And having all the right ingredients is one thing. And I want to piggyback on it because so after we got married, I learned a lot of baking and cooking, and so I had a desire to learn how to bake and cook, but I had all the desire, I had all the ingredients, but I kept calling mom on the video chat and saying, what next? I needed methodology.
Right.
And so having the cookbook is great. Having the ingredients is necessary. But and even the cookbook offers methodology inside of it. But
yes.
But there's nothing like a methodology that has been proven by life.
Yes.
And so for example, when you're making, let's say I want to make a banana cake, I would think you're throwing all the wet ingredients and mixing the dry, but that's not how it works necessarily. There's a step in what is mixed first and put aside, what is mixed second and put aside, and then you combine them together afterwards. But if you were to add, for example, the sugar and the oil has to be beaten well together for a bit. You don't just add the milk, egg, sugar, and oil at the beginning and beat it. It's not going to come out with the same effect that you're desiring. And so adding the right ingredient at the right time, knowing how to mix it, knowing all these intricacies. And I'm just talking with the kitchen and the cookbook and the workbook and so if we're gonna bake bread, it's the same thing. It's a whole lot of intricacies that if it weren't for my mom's experience guiding me, maybe I would have got it, but that definitely helped me to be more efficient and to learn rather quickly.
Right.
And so and like many other things, a young guy with his dad learn how to fix the car, learn how to keep it running. Simple things that you learn. And so with the cookbook analogy now, I want to bring that because one of the things that I think is very critical, very important when it comes to us being prepared for marriage and even helping in preparing men for marriage. When we talk about men at work, and you talk about the foundation, and I remember visiting an establishment a few months ago, and it was sad because it's like we have to destroy this entire establishment because the foundation was not laid properly.
Right.
The foundation was not, so that whole, I think it's splitting at that point, or it's terrible. It's not safe.
Right.
And so that's so that being said, it is utmost important for us to be thinking about practical things like a role model and mentorship, because, and I add this because like the cookbook and having the ingredients, having the desire, having that guidance, having quote unquote someone who cooked for years that I could look up to to show me. I think it's important because as humans and even as men, we're visual learners. A lot of us learn visually, and a lot of that knowledge that you talked about is imparted that way. The wisdom you can actually, so wisdom is knowledge applied, right? Knowledge that has been understood, processed, and applied. And so when you, Mr. Arthurs, apply knowledge, I am seeing it lived out in wisdom. I'm seeing it become, I want to call wisdom the tangible of that knowledge, the tangible production, the tangible outcome or expression of what you know and what you understand. So when I see you as a married man, I'm not sure how many years you've been married, but if I were to watch you, I am seeing what you know applied, and I can see it work. So I'm talking about these two concepts of having a model or a role model before you and mentorship. And because when you think about mentorship or apprenticeship, you see it in business aspects where you train up people for the job, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's what's happening. If you see it in gangs, that's what happened.
Yep.
Gangs, the older guys, they mentor and they're and so to speak, an apprenticeship, a training is being done when they recruit a
That's
new
right.
guy, and they put them through some very vigorous things. Sometimes you got to do this to be initiated. Sometimes you got to take a beating from the gang. Whatever it is, you got to go rob. Whatever it is,
Yep.
but nonetheless, there's something that attracts the young men to the older. There's something and so and from my own experience growing up, I remember hanging out with different groups of guys growing up, and I could tell you the older guys shaped the culture of those groups. So in one set of one group it was about the cars, the booze, and the woman. And so young me, a teenager, all these, I mean, that's what they do, that's what they're talking about. I want to fit in. Guess what? I was being mentored. Even though they weren't doing, even though it wasn't directly, it was still being done. And then like I talk about the skill. If somebody is great at fixing cars, you can teach that person the skill and they can acquire the skill. Well, how much more? Why aren't we thinking about this aspect or these principles for preparing men?
Right.
You know, I think it has been helpful to me to see what a man looks like in marriage operating, especially applying the principles of the manual. It was a game changer for me growing up because I grew up having a mindset that was kind of instilled that men not the housework, you know.
Yeah.
And so but I had a paradigm shift when I saw the principles of the manual and manufacture being lived out at home by a man, serving, cooperating, leading with love. And I'm like, wow, this is crazy, you know. But
Wow.
it prepared me. I remember, you know, he really sat down and said to me, when you get married, this is what you should do. But it may happen once in a while, but observing, because we had a close relationship. And so I was always spending time at their house, and I realized, wow. But when I became married, it's then I realized how much it impacted me, because now I'm not saying and I didn't make mistakes. I'm not saying that I don't have room to grow, but what I am saying is it created a great foundation and reference point that had propelled me in marriage a lot. So I want to add these principles, like you're talking about with the knowledge, understanding, and wisdom in the cookbook. Have somebody to guide you that can offer some kind of methodology, practically speaking. I think, and the last thing I'll say here, and then I'll add it over to you, is what I'm saying really kind of goes against the grain of manhood for the most for a lot, because we have this ego that we got to do it on our own, and it's hard for us as men to open up something. I'm not opening up. That's soft. That to make I look weak. But but man, if we could get to that place, we would gain a lot more strength. We gain a lot more wisdom, and I think we can help to prepare foundations for marriages, which are the men, because it's important, my brother. The features of your foundation will determine your future.
That's right.
You know, the features of your foundation will determine your future. So yes, my brother.
Those are very practical and powerful ideas and steps. This year, the 3rd of March, makes 25 years that I've been married to. I just see the cliche one, the most beautiful woman in the world, no? And that's what she should be for you, sir.
That's right.
That's listening, that's preparing to be a good husband. She's the most beautiful woman in the world because she should be the most beautiful woman in your world. You see, you have no other. I have nobody else that I call wife and that will get the privilege of being wife. So she's the best in my world. And that extends out. Also, what you've been speaking about reminds me of the word discipleship.
Yes.
We tend to want to evade discipleship because it takes work. But taking a child and spending thousands of dollars and getting an education for that child is discipleship. That child is being discipled, taught by someone that knows, that understands, that person has been there before, worked for years, done the work, etc., etc. And so there's power in that. Thinking of also a foundation, if I could look at that, one small little thing is that when you're building a foundation, you drive piles many times, depending on how soft the ground is. But the thing with a foundation, it's really not seen. I want to like really hit that point home. You don't see foundations. They're there. They are solid. It might be the strongest part of the structure, but you don't see it. It doesn't use its strength to destroy the building that's on top of it. It actually uses that strength to protect and to keep safe the building that's on top. So building a foundation, you will dig the ground, you will pour cement, you will put tiles, and you might be down $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, and you're not even above the ground as yet.
Wow.
So that is the thing with a foundation. You don't see it. It's costly, it's expensive, but once it's done properly, then you can put what you want on top of it, what it was designed to take, you can put on top. The importance of a good foundation. And you, sir, are the foundation. I'm talking to you, men. You are the foundation of the marriage. You're not the excuse maker. You're the foundation. So we're talking about these ingredients: knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. The manufacturer is very clear what happens when we lack knowledge. He says that whenever we lack knowledge, we perish. We are destroyed.
That's right.
If you lack knowledge, you get destroyed. If you lack knowledge, you cast off restraint. You're careless when you lack knowledge. If you don't know that a fire is a fire and it can burn you, then you cast off restraint. You go and you don't give respect to it. You go and you put your hand in it and it burns you. Now you have knowledge. So there is an important lesson to understand in getting knowledge for preparation. You want to prepare for a marriage, knowledge is key. Next to knowledge is understanding. And next to understanding is wisdom. Now, what is wisdom? I don't want to say what wisdom is because that can get very deep, but I'd like to say this about wisdom. If we are talking about ingredients, wisdom is that thing that brings the ingredients together. Wisdom might be heat. You take the cake, you put it in the oven and you apply heat to it and it bonds the ingredients together. It might be mixing. You might put the cake in a tub and it has butter and flour and sugar all over the place, and egg here and egg there and this coloring there, and wisdom will be that mixer that takes all that stuff and beats it together. So wisdom has this, it's hard, it's hot, it's not easy to deal with. It's not very simple. Sometimes it hurts, or it causes heat and rubbing and mixing. Mixing produces heat, but then it causes bonding. It causes a cohesion like protein to the body. And so that is wisdom. Being able to apply pressure, to apply heat, to apply mixing, and to apply cooling in the right amounts at the right time, to apply order in setting up and in carrying out a function. That is wisdom. And this is what is required in a marriage: knowledge, understanding, and then now apply what we understand. So a fourth ingredient that I would like to add to the bucket list of ingredients here is understanding love. We're looking at what should be understood. So a fourth ingredient is understanding love, and understanding not only love, but which type of love is your responsibility, sir. Love is not love. Love is a 4-letter word. And that 4-letter word that love is many times is used out of context. So
Right.
when we talk about love, it is important to understand the difference between these words.
Right. Right.
There are about 4 or 5 different types of love, but I would like to just take on 2 and use some English words to define these 2.
Right.
Because these are the 2 love that we would deal with within a relationship, within a marriage. And so I'll change one word from love to like. Many times when a man tells a woman he loves her, and even when a woman tells a man that she loves him, which is not important, by the way, women should not be telling you, sir, that they love you. They can, but that is not what you function.
It's not required.
It is not required. And you would prefer what is required than what is acceptable.
And sounds pretty, yeah.
And sounds pretty. So when a woman respects you, that can be interpreted as love to you. Yes. But if that woman is disrespectful to you and turns around and say that she loves you, then you don't believe that, you don't buy that, because respecting you is what means to you love. But nevertheless, I'll change that word from love to like.
Right.
Because this is what many people use when they get all worked up and passionate and say, oh, I love you, and start to trouble and have butterflies in their heart and in their stomach. That is like. That is not love. Love doesn't bring butterflies. Like bring butterflies. But the English word that I would like to use like with is the word conditional.
Right.
So when somebody likes you, it's a conditional love, which depends on what you are able to bring to the table.
Right.
That is a very low class, low level love. And that is not the love that a man should prepare himself to enter a marriage with. That is a love that should just be a byproduct. Not a love that is the main ingredient.
Right.
The love that we are talking about, that is the main ingredient that a man needs to have, not a woman. A woman does not need this. A man needs to prepare himself by knowing and understanding what is unconditional love, which means that this love has no condition attached to it. It's not saying because you're sexy, because you have your eyes and all your hands and all your feet, all your fingers, there's no condition with this love. And so these are the responsibility that a man should take up. Prepare yourself and be responsible enough to learn what is unconditional love and apply it.
Right.
Not like.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, trust me when I say this. 99% of the time, even in love songs, even in Hollywood, when they say they love you, they're simply saying they like you. Young man, or even adult man, please listen to me. Like is not love.
Yeah.
There's a difference, and if time permits, we can look at what love is, that you should prepare yourself to love.
What if the foundation of your house you're building say, today I don't feel like bearing all this weight?
Yeah.
or it sounds ridiculous to say, but I'm using that perspective that we were talking about of the men as the foundation, because it's like, today I don't want to bear this weight. Today I only want to hold up the rooms. I don't want to hold up the living room today.
Or today I want to be on the top.
Yeah, today I want to be a roof.
I want to be on the roof.
Yeah, I want to be, I want to be a wall today. Nah, it's the rule and the responsibility of the foundation is clearly defined and necessary. Yeah. And so I wanted to just add that there, because when it comes to this being this foundation, which I love that because it speaks to vitality. It speaks to strength. It speaks to preparation, as we're talking about today, being that foundation.
Right. So maybe I could sort of end with one last understanding
sure.
that we need to have.
Yeah.
And of course, you can't understand if you do not have knowledge. So knowledge comes first. Knowledge comes first. Yes, I understand. But this is, I would say, number 5 of the understanding list of ingredients that you need. Remember, if you don't have all the ingredients, you might not make a proper cake or whatever you're making.
It might produce a cake that will make people sick.
Right. If you have something missing, you might make people sick and give them stomach flu, no?
Oh my gosh.
But let's look at the last understanding that I would like to share here, and that is a man needs to know and understand what is the greatest need of a woman before he gets into marriage. What is a woman's greatest need? For men, it might be sex. So it is rare that you find a man where his wife has died, or he has left his wife, or his wife has left him, and that man remains single. That man is going to find somebody else. It is rare. Some men might do it. I'm not saying all, but the majority, because of the makeup of a man, will go and find another woman. In fact, a man even has his woman and he goes out and finds several more. And we have these kings that are so wise, but yet they are so unwise that they are going to have 700 wives.
It's a lot.
Turn around and complain and say that if a woman is cantankerous, better you go and live in a roof. And call women dripping faucets while he's dripping with women. See? So it is important to understand that sex is not a woman's greatest need, sir. It doesn't matter how of an animal and a thoroughbred you are. You can be a beast in bed. That is not the greatest need of a woman. I'm not saying that a woman will not like it.
That's right.
Will not like your abilities. But that is not her greatest need. The woman's greatest need is affection. And so that affection leads me to this point. Under this last ingredient of knowing your woman's greatest need, it leads me to this point. If we had to say only one thing and we only had a minute to say it, we had no time, just 1 minute to give the most important advice we could give to a man in order for him to prepare for marriage. That would be never stop dating. Never stop dating.
I like that.
Dating, if you observe a man when he's dating, again with a few exceptions, if you observe a man when he's dating, it proves that that man understands what is needed in a relationship. You ever think of a politician? I don't know in other parts of the world.
Yeah.
But in Belize, the politician will come to your house. It might be someone that if they meet you on the street, they won't even look you in the eye. They don't want to even be around you. But when it's time to get your vote, then they show a clear understanding of what you expect of them, to treat you like a human being, to listen to you, to know what's honest and what is dishonest. They come with that in front of you because they want your vote. Men, don't be politicians with your wives. Even if you're a politician,
I like that.
Don't take that home.
You know you're campaigning, right?
Yeah. Remain in campaign mode. How beautiful it would be if politicians remain in campaign mode. We would have the best country.
Wow.
You know, if they even remain in opposition mode, where they see all the bad that the incumbent party is doing and they have a passion against it. If they remain in that mode, we would have the best country in the world. And we would have the best countries in the world. So the advice is never stop dating. Dating shows that you, sir, understands what is required in a marriage.
Yes.
Dating is not a tool to get into marriage. It's a tool to take you through marriage into a long-lasting, well-serviced and beautiful marriage. Never stop dating.
I like that. I think one of my concluding points on that is a while ago I had a term I called the scientific spouse, because a scientist is somebody that studies in depth. They become an expert in a certain field of knowledge and how it applies, and in the manual where it calls husbands to understand their wife and to dwell in knowledge with them. That word knowledge in the Greek it translates to gnosis, which gives us the idea of somebody that's I think it even has the word science or scientist in it, to say that you're like an expert. You have an expert understanding in a particular field, and so that's what it's calling husbands to do, to become and keep becoming experts.
I like that.
Be a scientific spouse. And again, that's where I grab the concept of the onion, because I always say onions give us tears, but cut your onion. Don't forsake your onion for another one, because that other onion might look. You might have a onion with the brown skin, and there's a onion over there with the purple skin. And you say, that looks nice. And then, but when you get halfway in that onion, you realize this is worse, or this isn't even any good. So, don't abandon your onion. Keep slicing those layers back. Keep studying. Keep learning. Be a scientific spouse. Learn and I'm just emphasizing, as you concluded with, never stop dating. Never stop dating. I love that very, 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 very much.
Yeah, I just want to say a small little thing here, and this let's just call this a bonus, no?
Hey, go ahead.
In talking about studying and getting information and becoming a scientist, it is a very tricky thing, because you can study, and the scientists of that time might believe that the world is square and you can fall off the edge. And we can study that material and be perfectly wrong.
Wow.
Pass all our tests with the highest level, and yet we are still wrong, because the world might not be square. And so that is just one caveat that I find today, where there's a lot of material in marriage, yet marriages suffer so much. And one of the reasons is that a lot of what is taught and believed in marriage, on the topic of marriage, does not line up with what the manufacturer has put in the manual, the way a marriage should be. And so even the workers in the manufacturer's factory tells you nonsense a lot of times. This pastor, and he's a well-meaning, loving guy, he began speaking about the fact that a man needs for his wife to respect him. And that was very good. And he went on with that. And he turned around now and started to talk about this man staying at work rather than coming home. And as he comes home and the wife is upset and annoyed, he walks around and he turns back and goes back to his work. And that is something that tries to look down on women, when this woman is actually mirroring something when she does that.
Right.
And many well-meaning pastors, many well-meaning counselors give these type of advice. They write these type of advice in books, and nobody takes into account where the manual says that the man's job is to work. So yes, the man goes to work, but that lady that he comes home to that is annoyed and upset, she went to work too. This guy left that out. So that lady comes home, has to deal with the kids, help them with their homework. She has to bathe them. She has to feed them. She has to discipline them. She has to turn around and put them to bed. And then she has to she did that all by herself. Wait, is she a babysitter, sir? Is your wife a babysitter? So you prefer going back to work. Who gave her those kids? Did she get them by the same style that Mary got hers? Virgin birth? So when this guy goes and preaches and talks this type of message, it sounds good. And men love to hear it. And women get spiteful at the other woman beside them and say, yeah, see, that's how you stand. You're a bad lady. Nobody takes into place that she has taken on this man's curse. And he prefers to be at work than to be at home, making sure that he supports and be a foundation for that lady.
For me, I don't know. I think I felt like I had a good buffet today. In this conversation on preparing and men at work. And I think our brother, you offered great practical points. And but until next time, guys, this has been Marriage Matters, because your marriage matters. Have a good one, guys.